Hi, my name is Mike. Thanks for joining me today on my channel, Technically Church, where I share over 20 years of experience in audio, video, lighting, and multimedia. You can always find out more on my website at technicallychurch.com. Let's jump in. Today we're going to talk about using Monday.com to manage the communications department at a church. So this can apply to many different things. It could apply outside of a church. I'm just giving you the practical example of how we use it within a church. So I run the communications department at our church, fairly large ministry of 9 different physical locations, a staff of 50 plus people. So we require everybody, any event at the church, to come through us. We do graphic design for that event. We do advertisement for that event. We put it on our website. We have an app, obviously social media, and we do weekly email newsletters, all these kinds of things. And we develop graphics for our gatherings, which are our services on the weekends as well. So we use Monday.com to manage all this. And, project management among the team. The communications team is 5 different people. So I'm just going to show you kind of a real world example of how I use it and dig in a little bit to some of the features just to see if it can help you on your journey. So if we jump over to Monday.com, it all starts with a form. So Monday.com allows forms. So this is, it's just a public link that I give to our entire staff. They are required to fill this out to start their event design, okay? So I'll just run through this real quick. They have to give it a name. They tell me the date, the end date if it's applicable, and they tell me their desired advertisement date. So by default, we run with a 12-week window. So everybody has to submit their events 12 weeks ahead of the actual event. 12 of those 12 weeks, 4 of those weeks are always dedicated to advertising. So 8 weeks gets us through the finish line, 4 weeks gives them advertising. So they know that they're always going to get 4 weeks of advertising. So this advertisement date is always 4 weeks prior to the event date, unless they want it sooner. So then they would put that in here. They're going to put their name and their email in here. This is primarily, obviously, for me to know who submitted it, but also a bunch of automations are set on that. Like I mentioned, we're a multi-campus ministry, so we have 9 different physical locations. So they have to tell me this event is for a specific location, multiple, or all of the locations. We run based on teams. So our vision as a church is reach, gather, grow. So we have a reach team, a gather team, a grow team, and a family team. The family team is 18 and under. So every event has to fit in one of those categories as far as a vision. So they're telling me that for multiple reasons. And the team lead, we're an elder-run church, so the team lead of each of these teams has to approve this event before it actually comes to the comm team. So that's part of that. That's all done via automations, which I'll show you. They give me the start date or start time and end time, where the location of the event is, and then I just have all these fields to explain what they need. So the first one is explain your event, and then I give them what I need. Who is it for? What are you doing? What details does the public need to know for this event? So they're going to answer all those questions. Design explanation. Do you have a vision for what your design looks like? Please explain it. What colors do you want? What do you want it to look like? Do you have examples? So the next one is photos and attachments. Do you have examples of what you might want it to look like? Give us those. Okay? Sometimes they'll just say, make it look cool, and sometimes they'll have a very specific inspiration that they want us to look. Design extras, I've just developed this. Do you need apparel for your event? Do you need stickers? Do you need signage, banners, paid social media, yard signs? So different things over the years that we will provide for them. They're telling me, yes, I do need those. Handouts, yes or no? Do I need physical printed handouts? So we print in-house, so it's really important for us to know if they need physical handouts or if it's just going to be digital. So that's a yes or no. Cost, is there a cost to the event? Do you need registration for your event, yes or no? If you need registration, what are the registration details? Give me all the information you want collected during registration, information about any required waiver forms. Do you want the registration to close at a specific time? Registration access, we use planning center registrations. So here is tell me who needs access to that planning center registration to be able to view who signs up. Confirmation email, do you want something specific sent to the people who register? Type that here. And then I just give them a field for additional notes and comments. So I'm gathering all this information from our ministry leads. They are required to fill this out. I will not take any manual submissions. You fill this out. So you fill that out and it automatically goes into a board. So I have a board on Monday called Design Incoming. That is what is attached to that form. So they fill out the form and it automatically creates a card on Monday.com in the category that I've created of incoming. So you can see here's all my current incoming requests. So this is now a visual representation in card form of that form. And then there are automations that will add and change things as we go. So their name becomes the card title. There is an automation based on the team and vision they select. It will assign our elder, in this case, it'll assign the elder here to that card. It'll then notify the elder that they have to come and approve this. So, as a quick note, we have all of our staff in Monday. Every single one of them are in here, but almost every one of them are guests. So we're not paying a ton of money to achieve this, okay? Just the administrators are real users, and then our entire staff are guests. They can come in based on the Monday settings. You can go say, what can a guest do? And you can say a guest can only edit this field if they're assigned to it. So it's a great feature. Other than that, they can view it so people can keep track of all their projects. So there's an automation that notifies our elder, hey, you have to come view this and approve it or not. So then there's an elder approver column. So that is not in the design form that they filled out. The elder will come in here and approve it or deny it. So once they do that, then the comm team deals with it. So we only deal with it if it's approved. So then there's a status column, and this is simply basically if I deny it or approve it. So once the elder approves it, I as the comm director will say, yep, we're going to do this task, and I will approve it. That then triggers a bunch of automations that moves it to the next board, which I will show you in a few minutes. If I put in a deny reason in this field, and then deny it, it will email them and say, hey, your project is denied and here's why. So I do have this board tied to the Gmail integration, and so as soon as they submit the design request form, as soon as they submit this form here, there's an automation that gives them an email saying, hey, we received it and here's what we received. And then when the elder approves it, they get an email saying, hey, it was approved by the elder. And then when I approve it, they get an email saying this project was approved by the communication team to move forward. And based on some of these fields, like I'll adjust maybe this live date. This is the date that they put in for advertisement. So I will double check this and say, yes, we can definitely make that date, or I will change it. And so then when I say approved, they get an email saying the comm team is going to move forward with your project, and we anticipate it being done on this date. I might assign it a priority of high or low. Just helps my team with when to work on it. So then everything they filled in is here. The date, the end date, the name and email I've got hidden just for privacy purposes. That's right here. What location they picked. And then there's also additional fields here that weren't on the form that I, as the comm director, now will decide, here's what we're going to do with this project. So the advertisement level, this tells my social media team, this needs to be advertised church-wide because we're multi-site. Sometimes we don't advertise everything to every location. So this is church-wide, location only, or sometimes it's hidden because it's a task that we're not actually advertising. And then I've got an advertisement frequency. We have just normal, we push things 2 to 3 times. This is an event that we're not going to push very much low or go crazy if it's a really big outreach event, for instance. So that helps our team. The team vision, again, they filled out. It helps me understand what team this belongs to. Start and end time, where is it? Everything they put in for the event details comes here. If they attach any files, so everything's here. If they put handouts, so there's all these subtasks now that get put in here. If they said, yes, I want a handout, then it automatically, via an automation, will add a print subtask so that because I have a person who prints, so they would be assigned to that print subtask only if there's a handout. If the handout says no, this subtask does not get created automatically. If they clicked registration yes, then there's a registration subtask that gets created. This next one, URL, is something that I say yes or no to, and it's a direct URL from our website. Sometimes on our website we'll do our website name / the event title. We only do that for specific big events. So if I say yes to URL, you're going to see an auto subtask appear here. So I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to say yes to URL, and you'll see an automation running, and then all of a sudden make custom URL pops up as a subtask. So that's an automation I have set. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And then I would put, what is the URL? I would personally type this in here. Again, as the comm director, this is telling my team you need to make this URL. They filled in the registration details, who needs access, what the cost is. Here's what we want to be sent out for the confirmation email. Here is notes for the design, for our designer. And then it just tells me when it was submitted so I can keep track of, because we work on that 12-week deadline window. If somebody submits something late, I keep track of it so that I prioritize the submissions that people put in on time. I prioritize those. And then if we can get to the ones that they turned in late, we still do them. But that helps me keep track of that. When the elder approved it, it's just helpful for me to know that it did happen. And then that additional notes and comments field is here. Now some of these get combined into the next board, which I'll show you. So this additional notes actually gets combined with the event details column in the next automation. So I do some of that because I want to ask the submitter questions to force them to answer certain things. But then on the comm team side, I don't need them all in different columns, so I combine them together just so we have all the information. I found that this is a great way to force information out of people, but then make it easier on our end to deal with. So every time something gets put in, there's an automation that adds all this stuff. It adds a design subtask, and it automatically assigns our graphic designer. If they say we want stickers, as a additional item, we want stickers, then it adds this subtask that we need to purchase order and order those stickers. So I live based on subtasks and assigning those to team members to do things. It just helps keep the project on track and helps us keep rolling. So this is, everything gets a web task. We put everything on the website. So that's just an auto subtask of, hey, do this. Like I said, they get the print subtask if there's handouts. And then in this case, they want apparel as well. So there is a subtask for purchase order and ordering those shirts. All right, the only other thing really automation-wise, which I'll show you in a second, that happens here is this notify owner column. So there's a bunch of more automations that I do based on what the tasks are. It'll notify the owner of this task as we go through. It'll do different things. So it auto sets that the design subtask has this notify owner of this design task. This just helps me with automations, because automations I can say, if this field is this, do this. But you can't do that off of the name of a card. So I can't say if the name of the sub-item is design, do this. So that's why I auto assign design here, web here, and print here, and then I deal with those via automations later. So I go through as the comm director, I verify all this information, I see if something doesn't fit how we do things, I'll change it. If they're using terminology that doesn't fit, I'll change it. I'll make sure, I'll make some of those decisions that I ran through, gets all the subtasks in order, and then I will go status approved. Once I do that, it's going to move it to the next board, which I'll show you. But before we do that, I'm going to show you some of the automations that I have in here. So these aren't necessarily in order, so I'm going to go through a couple of these. So when an item is created, and if the team is reprint, so people can put in a reprint and just say I need more of something, more handouts. This skips the elder approval process. So this auto approves it if it's a reprint. Okay, so that's just based on, they said it was a reprint in the form, so now there's a drop down that says reprint, and so it's saying when there's an item that's created, if the drop down is reprint, auto approve it. So then here's the main incoming. When an item is created, and only if the team vision is not reprint, so this is a normal event, then it creates all these sub-items. So this is where it creates the sub-item of design and assigns my graphic designer. Then it creates the sub-item of put it on the web, and then it creates the sub-item of printing. So it's doing all this automated based on when that form is filled out. So it's a pretty cool feature of this. Let me run through here. So here, when a status changes to approved, it sends the owner an email. So I was talking about that earlier. So I'm using the Gmail integration. When the status changes to approved, it emails the owner email column, and it tells them this: your request has been approved to move forward. We'll begin working on it and have an anticipated advertisement date of this date, which this right here is a column. So this is all happening automatically based on me just hitting the approve button. So that's pretty cool. I've just got a bunch of other automations, like based on the date it was submitted, the elder has to approve it within 4 days. If they don't, they get notified, hey, you forgot to approve this. There's just notifications in here of when it comes in. It notifies me that we got a new request. More sub-item things. If the design extras contains this label, create this sub-item. So that's how I get my shirts, design shirts, order shirts, design stickers, order stickers. It's just if they said this in the form, add this subtask. When it comes in, if the item is created and in incoming and the team is this, assign this person as the elder and notify them. So that's how I achieve that approval process from our team lead that I mentioned earlier. Here, if the URL column changes to yes, create a sub-item of make the direct URL. So I showed you that earlier. So here's examples of how I'm using all these automations. Okay, so then I told you there was the one that moves it right here. When the status changes to ready, then move the item to communication. So that's communication is my main board. So you're saying move the item. So you have to map the field. So you want if you're using multiple boards like this, you want your design incoming board to match your next board, which I'm calling communication. You want the columns to match as much as possible because it will copy all that information over one-to-one. But if it doesn't, you can map it. So this is what you do here. You say I want the name to map to the name field. I want status to map to status. But here's where I'm doing some of that combining right here. Under event details, this column, when I move it over to my next board, it's combining the event details column and the additional notes column into one column, so I don't have to deal with all those extra columns. So you're just mapping everything one-to-one, or how you want it, to your next board. So it's saying, when I change the status, move it over to the next board and map all these columns. All right, so only the administrators of my communication team see this incoming board. Just as a recap, the incoming board has the design form that they fill out. It auto creates the cards. There's all those automations that build it. And then when I make sure this is ready, I approve it and it moves it over to my communication board, which is the board that we actually work from to carry out the tasks. That's where all the assignments are made and we carry them out. So I'm going to show you that board next. Alright, so once I change the status to approved here, it then changes it to ready, and then it then moves it to my communication board. So I'm going to pop over to the communication board and show you the structure here. Okay, so the communication board is similar as far as the columns you'll see, but I have more groupings. So I have queued team tasks. So by default, it automatically moves it from my design incoming board to the communication board and puts it in the queued team tasks group. It then goes from queued to active and active to done. Sometimes projects go to the waiting external follow-up category because I'm waiting for things that I need that I don't have, and I don't want it just sitting in my active projects folder, so I will put it there for a while. I have a template that I use for some different reasons, and then I just have some other groupings to throw things in. If there's a project I would really like to get to but isn't a priority, I just throw it down here to when there's time. Alright, so we're going to look at queued and active are my main categories. So like I said, it all comes here automatically. It comes in the ready state, and the columns for the most part match everything that we've talked about. Okay, there's a few additional things I'll do here. I think I mentioned earlier, every single one of our staff members gets a guest account. They get a guest account on this board only. So the first thing I do is I assign the owner column to the staff member that submitted it. I can't do that on the other board because I don't have everybody on that board for specific reasons. So I assign the owner. Again, I've hidden the owner name and owner email, but they're right here. And then a few other things I'll do once it's in here is I will set some of these fields. So I'll set a due date for the design. So here's how this works. I have an event date. This is actually when the event is. Then I have a live date, which is usually 4 weeks in reverse of that. So that's my advertising window. We want it live on the website for 4 weeks. But then I want to give my designer a target for when to do this. So obviously it needs to be complete. The project needs to be completely done by the live date. But the designer's got to do it early enough to design it, get it proofed, and get it to the rest of the team to do everything else. So the process looks like this. It goes to queued and gets assigned to my designer. The designer develops a concept design that then comes back to me and I approve. Then it goes back to the designer. The designer finishes the project. There's several sizes that we need for the website, for posters, for handouts, for social media, all these different things. So they design that, and then it goes out for a proof. So we proof it internally in the communication department, and it goes to the owner for a proof. The owner sees it and approves that everything is correct. So that's a pretty cool automated process that I've built that I'm going to explain in a separate video. So go check out my Monday.com proofing automation video if you want to learn how I do that. It's a little nerdy, definitely techie, and definitely a lot of fun. Okay, so the proof goes out to the owner and the comm team. We proof it, it comes back and gets approved as the proof. Then the designer does what I call a release. The designer will export everything to JPEGs, PNGs, PDFs, whatever we need, and that's the release. So once that happens, it leaves the designer and it goes to my web's person. So I have different people for each of these areas. I have a person who posts everything on the web, I have a person who posts everything on social media, and I have a person who prints everything. So it gets assigned to all those people, and now they have the appropriate files to work with. All that to say, I assign a due date to the designer to kick the project off. So that's kind of a priority setting as well. Tells them when to start working on it. We have some internal language. So I have a design type. So this is me communicating to the designer. I want you to create a full design for this, or we could rework a past design, or we have some generic designs that you can use for this. So I'm telling our designer kind of how much energy to put into this design. And then we have a book category because we do design actual print books. We develop those as well. Design levels, again, this is an internal thing. For every event or project, there's different, I mentioned there's different sizes and pieces that we need. So this is my way to communicate what we need for this event. There's a base size that we need, then there's a handout size, then there's specific things that we need for our gatherings, specific sizes we need for books, and then I would say special, which would be I'm going to tell you what that is. So again, this is just easy ways for me as the comm director to communicate to my team of what is needed for this project. All right, this proof deliver files column is actually a files column, and when my designer does a proof, like I mentioned, she will export a PDF and she will throw it into this column. That triggers my proof automation, which again is quite intense, and I can show you that in a different video, but it does automatically send that file out to get proofed, come back in, and it's a fully automated proofing process. Then I have some print fields that tells my printing person how to print it, how many to print it, and where to release it. So we have several different methods to get the material out to people. Again, we're multi-site, so we have people spread across 9 physical locations, across 45 to 50 miles apart. So there's different methods that we do. So all of these columns, the reason I have so many columns that do so many things is because it communicates to my team what's needed, and it allows me to do automations based off all of these columns. So for instance, under print release, I'm going to say hold for pickup. So this right here communicates my print person where to put this physical print when they're done with it. We have an area for hold for pickup. And because of this notify owner being set to print, when the print person then comes over here and says status is done, it automatically triggers an automation that emails the owner based on the owner field up here, and then it gets what I want it to say based on the print column, and it says, hey, your prints are ready and they're in this area for pickup, and that all happens automatically and sends out an email and notifies them. So it's a pretty cool system. Design location, I'll show you one that's done. Design location is simply the location we have a shared drive, and it's very large, a lot of folders, so sometimes you don't know where stuff is. So this is just a copy of the folder structure of where this actual design is located in our shared drive system. Proof deadline, so once it goes out to proof, again, Monday.com, there's an automation that puts a date in this field, and what happens is it puts today's date in there, it pushes it forward 5 days, and then there's another automation that checks every day, and it says, hey, is this proof deadline met or not? Because if they don't respond within a certain amount of days, we move forward no matter what. So we just have this set up internally that we don't wait forever for a project to go, but we do want them to proof it. Now if they don't, there's a deadline put in here, and it will automatically move this project forward if that's not met. I've developed this reminder date field. This is internal. So if I say, I don't need to work on this for 4 weeks, but I don't want to forget about it, I can put a reminder date in here, and whenever that date hits via an automation, it will remind whoever is assigned to that project that task is due. So that's just a simple way for that. And then again, I told you we internally proof this as a team, so when we proof it internally, I say, we've proofed it, there's no changes, or we've proofed it and there are changes that are needed, and that communicates to my designer to read the comments on the project for any of the changes. So I would go through and I would set all of that all at once. I would do the design incoming, I would do everything I just explained, and now it's sitting in my queued team tasks, and you can see I have a column that is sub items due. So this is the due date of the sub items. So you can see when the sub item is due, when it's got to go live, and when the event is, all right here in this one look. And my designer can look at this when they have a time for the next project. They look at this, they see when the next sub-item due date is, they take that project, they change it from ready to in progress, and there's an automation that automatically then moves it to active projects. So that's the only difference between here, queued and active. This is what we're currently working on, and this is what we need to work on coming up. So then, like I said, the process is, this one's currently in the release stage. Like I mentioned, the designer has released it, so that's going to go on to the team and get assigned out. Some of these projects up here have already been assigned out. A lot of these are done. And then the newer stuff wouldn't be assigned yet. It's just in progress, so the designer is currently working on it. So you'll see my statuses for designs are in progress, concept proof. So when our designer says concept proof, that notifies me that I need to proof the concept. So that's an automation. Then I say concept approved, notifies the designer to continue. Then there's the proof stage. So once the whole project is done, she selects proof. That triggers the proofing automation to go out to the owner. Then there's an automated system that takes the email response for an approval, and it would say it's approved or there's revisions needed, because they could respond and say, no, you got the date wrong, you misspelled this. And it would automatically comment on the card saying, hey, you misspelled this, fix it. It would change this to proof revisions needed. And it would notify my designer to either, if it's approved, just to release it, or if revisions are needed, to change it and then release it. So then the designer would choose release. That would notify me as the comm director to assign it out to the team. I do that part manually. And then I would assign it to the team, and they would do all of their subtasks. Once every subtask is marked done, it automatically marks the main card status is done. So there's a few automations here. So once all these are marked done, an automation is triggered to mark the status is done of the main card. When a main card status gets marked to done, there's an automation that automatically moves this project from active down to my done category. I keep it there in the done category so I can reference it. So I keep it there until the project is, actually happened. Because again, we're advertising it for 4 weeks, so the project is going to go to done for 4 weeks, but the event hasn't happened yet. I might need to reference it for something. Once the event is passed, then I just archive it out of done. I don't delete anything, so that I can always go unarchive something and look at it in the future. So that is how that part of the process works. So again, when a normal event, let me pull up this here. So we're doing a men's car show. So originally the design due date was August 27th. So that gets done. We're advertising it on September 10th. And the show is on October 12th. Okay. The design gets done. It gets assigned to my web person. They put it on the web. They put slides in a folder for all of our locations to use on our screens, on our Sunday services and everything. Our print person prints the handouts and the posters to advertise in our lobbies. Our social media person puts it out on social media. Once all those gets marked done individually, again, this notify owner column, there's an automation that when the web gets done, it'll email the person saying, hey, your event's on the web, it's in the app, please go check it out and make sure that we didn't mess anything up. Once the prints are done, they get automatically notified saying, hey, we printed your material, it is sitting here for you to come pick up, right? So all that's happening automatically. Let me see if there's any other columns in here that are different that might be worth checking out. No, that's it. So a couple other things to note. So if we look at that men's car show, if I open the card for the men's car show, I have a couple of views in here. Because I have so many columns and so much information, you got to keep scrolling back and forth and back and forth. Each one of my team members doesn't need all that information. So I have these design views built. So if you open the main card, there is a design details. So I've built this little look here, and it just pulls just the columns that she needs to design. The title, the date, the time, the cost. Here's the event details, here's the design explanation, and all that. So everything that just the designer needs gets put right here for when she's designing it. Same with my web person. There's a registration details column here. And these are specifically the registration details that they would need, so they don't have to go searching. It's all right here in this one card. So this is just pulling information from specific columns and putting it in one spot. Up at the top here, I've got my main table. Like we've been looking at, it's got every project on it. But then I have table filtered views set up. So my designer's name is Lorena. So if you click this Lorena Active view, this filters that entire table down to just what she is assigned to and what she currently has marked to in progress. So these are the tasks that she has to work on right now. There's only 6 tasks here, where you can see the main table has way more than 6. So this is just a filtered view for each of my team members. Katie is my printer, so these are the 4 tasks that she can currently print, because she doesn't care to see a task that's still being designed. She can't print it yet, so she doesn't need to see it. So this filters it down to just Katie, my printer, and just projects that have been assigned to Katie that are ready to print. So those are just filtered views. So that's pretty great there. Let me show you a few of my automations so you can get an idea of what that looks like. So right here, when the sub-item status changes to proof approved, so there's a few extra things I do. When the proof gets approved, it creates a sub-item called close it. And what that is I want my designer to send the owner of this JPEG files that they can use like for their own social media, so that because they don't have access to Adobe Illustrator to open our design files, but they don't even have access to the design files. So if they want to promote this on their own, we want to send them those files. Well, we can't send them those files until the project is done. So once the project is done, by notating the status of proof approved, it creates that sub-item and it assigns my designer automatically and says, hey, send those files. So it's just another automated way for all those things to happen. The webhooks. So I'm going to touch the basics of these webhooks. This is how some of those automations are being done that I mentioned for proofing that Monday can't do. So just to give you a little preview here. Monday.com has integrations that you can integrate with it, third-party little pieces of software. So they do have integrations for proofing. So I have found some. One of them I found that I feel like would have done what I needed was about $250 a month, if I recall, maybe even more. So you got to pay for these services. So you could integrate those in there. You could potentially get a proofing system set up. But I'm actually using, as a little preview for that video I mentioned, I use Make.com. Make.com is a no-code platform that can go out and touch thousands of different companies, and you can do if-then statements with all these companies. So I could say attach to Monday.com, attach to Gmail, and do all these things. So when Monday status changes to this, grab these files, put them in an email, and email them out to the person. Then Make.com, when the person replies to the email, Make.com can intercept that email. Then I use ChatGPT to read the email and figure out if they're approving it or not. And then again, Make.com can integrate back with Monday.com and change statuses to proof approved, say, hey, you need to fix this, all these things. Well, this is all done via webhooks. Webhooks are the way that glue the whole thing together. It sends a little notification out, again, from Monday.com to Make.com, from Make.com back to Monday.com. So there's these webhooks that communicate and say, hey, you need to read this data and do something with it. Hey, you need to read this data and do something with it. So Monday.com has webhooks that are free, but then it can integrate with other things. So I'm doing that with Make.com. So that's just a little preview of that video you might want to go watch for proofing. So it's saying, when sub-item status changes to release, send a webhook. Again, that's sending it out to make.com, doing a bunch of other stuff, and then maybe sending data back in. When the sub-item status changes to done, and only if the sub-item is notify owner, then it actually notifies the person. So these are, as I mentioned when I went through, when this happens, it sends an email. When this happens, it notifies the person. So I just have all these automations that are doing that based on sub-item statuses changing. Just looking through these here real quick. When the status changes to done, so remember I told you when the whole project is done, it moves it to the done category. So these are just all automations based on sub-items changing. Right here, this is a fail-safe that I put in here to make sure we're not behind on projects. So if 2 weeks come before the live date, so if we only have 2 more weeks to finish this project, and it's still in the queued tasks, that means we're behind and we're not going to make it. It sends me a notification so that I don't have to even really think, because my team is doing most of the work, but this tells me, hey, someone's messed up, somebody forgot, or we're just really behind as a team. Let's see, what else do we have? Just a bunch of notifications. Here's a notification every week on Thursday, remind this person to do something. Right here, 2 days after the proof deadline, so I had mentioned this earlier. Let me open this. 2 days after a proof deadline, so I'm giving them a 2-day grace period. And they know that the requirements are, it's in the email, it says when they have to respond. But 2 days after, and if the status is proofed, so it can have a deadline, but it has to be in the proof category. So 2 days after the proof, but it's still in the proof category, right, because nobody's approved it. Then it notifies me, and it creates an update that says, the ministry lead did not respond to the proof. We have reviewed it internally. We've still proofed it ourselves, and we're going to go ahead and move forward with releasing it. So it's just clarity of communication, and then it notifies our graphic designer to move forward. So that's just an example of some different automations that you can do in here that are really powerful. So these are all built into Monday.com, everything we're talking about, except for those webhooks. That's a little more advanced task. Then I mentioned that waiting external, so if I change a status to waiting external, it automatically moves it to the waiting external grouping so that I don't have to see it anymore. Different things like when we change a sub-item to done, it clears the sub-item due date, so we don't need to know what the due date is anymore because it's done. So it clears that and it helps clean up some of the information. And then here's that one trigger when all sub-items of an item have the sub-item status of done. So if all of the sub-items are done, it changes the main status to done. Then there was that other one that says when the main status is done, move it to the done group. So here's just a example of how I have automations stacked on automations, stacked on automations to do all these crazy cool things for me so that I don't have to constantly read everything and think. Be sure and check out, I'm going to do a series on Monday.com and how I integrate it with Make.com, how I do some more advanced automations, and how I make this thing work for me. I like to say when I'm sleeping. So when I'm not working, this thing still is working. I don't have to constantly be the middle person in between every step and every action, right? They can move forward on their own. I've got ChatGPT doing a bunch of crazy cool stuff. I've got ChatGPT proofing stuff for me now. ChatGPT can go in here and proof things for accuracy, proof things for spelling, and kind of tell us when that's right or wrong. So I've got that going for me. Like I said, there's an automated proofing process that sends the file to the owner. The owner sees it. The owner responds to an email. Monday.com intercepts that email. ChatGPT reads the email. ChatGPT determines if it's approved or not, if there's changes or not, changes the statuses in here, moves it all forward. I mean, it's crazy cool. So I'm doing some really fun stuff. If you can't tell, I love to kind of nerd out on this and make some really cool stuff work. So check out those videos if you want. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me today. Again, my name is Mike. You can always find out more on my website, technicallychurch.com, or on my YouTube channel, Technically Church. Look forward to seeing you soon.